Hi, I'm Clare Kumar, productivity student. I would say I'm always learning and teaching. Best advice I ever got was from my dad. He was a surgeon and he used to come home from a busy day and he'd take 20 minutes and lie on the couch with the dog and have a nap. He always told me, tune into what your body needs and give it what it's asking for.
Wow, that's beautiful advice. Tune into what your body needs and
Mhm.
listen to what it's asking for. So, how old were you when he gave you this great advice?
Oh gosh. I'm figuring I was in my 20s because until I got to my 20s, I was like, "Dad, you know nothing," right? But when you get to about that age and you've matured a little bit, you're like, "Oh, I should probably be paying attention."
And when was he laying on the couch when he told you this, or?
Possibly, but probably not. He was a wonderful man of discipline, and he would get up every morning and he would do his back movement exercises on the floor. We'd all be sitting in bed having tea and a cookie, and he'd be there doing the thing that he was an orthopedic surgeon. So he had great respect for the spine and alignment and all of that. And he was just a man who lived with great discipline and appreciation of rich life. So there was a lot to pick up on if I was paying attention.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. That discipline. Boy, some days I sure wish I had more of that. I think that would probably make me happier if I did, huh?
I think there's a dance with it, you know? I think there's some work by Dr. Michael Curtin that's about 50 years old now that looks at our propensity to need structure versus not need structure. And I think we're either wired to crave it or not. But then I think those of us who don't crave it have to find our relationship to it because it gives you, I call it having the right tension on a trampoline. So you can jump to the height you want to jump without getting on that trampoline and hitting the ground or just taking off. So yeah, I think we have to understand our drive and motivation and desire for order, and then we can really design well.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. That takes some inner work and
Yeah.
some time. So with that, we want to we call this everyone deserves a happy space.
Yeah.
Is the happy space, is that kind of part of that, right? Where we have to dance with that tension there, Claire? Or what is happy
Yeah.
space?
Happy space is that place where you can be naturally performing at your best. So it's the physical space, it's the organizational culture, it's the social culture we're in, it's the leadership style. It's all of those things that combine to say, hey, Phil, I want you to be at your best. What do you need to succeed? Let's make that your happy space. And it's going to look different for everybody and it's going to change throughout the day. So it's not a static thing, but it's a set of conditions that really enable you to thrive in any given moment.
Ooh, I like having a place like that. That seems to make a lot of sense. And I think perhaps that's why remote work is so appealing to so many people because we can create what we need. Like, I need a comfortable chair. I need my orange wall over there. I want to be surrounded by books, right? You've got your pink there, right? I mean, that makes a big difference. So,
Yeah.
why let's unpack that a little bit though, because you said naturally need, but do we naturally know what we need? How do we find that out?
Oh, you're so right. We don't always naturally know. And I just go back to that conversation we're just having about Dr. Curtin's work. I thought because I first established my business working in people's homes to organize their space. And it came from self-assessment saying, what are you naturally good at? How can you turn this into a service that people are looking for? So I was looking at organizing space and time for people. And I thought, I must then have a great love of structure. Turns out during the adaption innovation KAI assessment, no, I am like wild freewheeling creative, but have found my relationship to it because of a couple things. Because I think it helps me have that tension I was looking for. Also, you'll see in my name there, it says brackets HSP. Not only does that stand for Happy Space Podcast, Happy Space Program, Happy Space Pod, all of that, it's highly sensitive person. And as a highly sensitive person, I can suffer from overwhelm, either auditory, visual, movement senses, all kinds of sensory overwhelm. And because of that, I have a natural inclination to create order in my world. Give you a challenge. I had a plumbing problem this week, and yesterday I had to take out my kitchen sink. I also had some work done in the bathroom. So under the counter came out onto the floor in 3 rooms. You can just imagine what that looks like. Everybody's got an under the counter, I think, situation. I am still working on putting that back. And as I'm putting it back, I'm like, oh, I can get rid of this. I can do that. And now when I look at my under the counter, it was pretty good before, but there was stuff that didn't belong there. Now I'm happier because that is now a happy space.
Ooh. So that's interesting, right? You probably would have never dove in there with the intention of cleaning it up. But now that it's out, you might as
Yeah.
well take the shot, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I find there's a time of day every morning I like to restore order a little bit. The interesting thing about organizing, just as a thought, is that often people are like, oh, I'll just do that later, and it's supposed to just happen. But organization is actually strategic thinking. It's sometimes emotional relationship to things. There's sometimes overwhelm and a challenge in not having a strategy. So it can become physically daunting, mentally overwhelming, and you want to bring your best energy to it. So figuring out when you like to do that is kind of important, and then diving into it in that moment rather than putting it off for that day that never comes, and then you're always feeling a little bit caught by your environment.
That's interesting. I don't know that there's ever a day though that I feel like getting organized. I kind of like my chaos, and then
Yeah.
I like to shut the bedroom door because
Mhm.
it's our fourth bedroom. So I just shut the door and I'm like, doesn't exist. But as I look around, I find that I'm surrounded by things that I love. Like I've got a lot of books, I've
Yep.
got a lot of tech, and I've got a lot of cards from my childhood, like
Mhm.
baseball, football, basketball cards that kind of, well, they're from the decades of my childhood as I look at them.
Yeah.
But then I think they're ones that I bought as an adult, almost
Yeah.
maybe to live some of that childhood that I didn't get to live as a child.
Oh, yeah. So what I like about thinking about happy spaces is it's honoring our natural preferences, and they vary widely. So as an organizer, people used to say, "Oh my gosh, you're going to come in and you're going to want us to get rid of things." I'm like, "No, let's embrace the sensuality. Let's embrace color. Let's embrace like the pattern on your shirt." I'm like totally digging it. Let's embrace our relationship to things, but let them not get in the way so they become something that ends up stealing our energy and taking our time and attention.
Ooh. So there's that dance again, that
Mhm.
tension on the trampoline where we
Yeah,
have to find, does it give me joy?
yeah,
Does it steal my joy? Does it give me energy? Does it take my energy away? Wow. That's pretty deep. That's pretty deep. So
yeah,
where do we begin with happy space at work though? Because happy
yeah,
space at work, if we work remotely,
yep.
much easier. But let's say we have to go into the office. How do we
Mhm.
do that?
Yeah, I'm building the Happy Space productivity profile right now, which is going to make this discovery of what our preferences are and articulation of them a lot easier. But it's going through thinking like start with what you react to, right? Your sensory experience. Do you like a noisy, bustling, open office space where you can hear the barista over in maybe if you're lucky if you have one in the office, or you like that milieu where there are a lot of people are around, or are you like someone who really likes quiet to do thinking work, but you still like a bright window, so you don't want to go in a phone booth necessarily. Get in touch with each of your senses and tune in a little. I say tune in before you lean in. That's one of the phrases I really like to pass on, because if again, and this is coming from my dad's quote, if we're tuning into what our body is telling us and going with it, far less stress. Sometimes there's good stress, right? So sometimes there's the challenge of a new situation where we're going to be a little bit uncomfortable, and we're going to master that being on camera or being in an interview or doing a presentation or trying something new. And we want to embrace a bit of that adrenaline that comes with that. But in general, if we're doing our best thinking work, we don't necessarily want to be under stress. There's a value in time pressure. Sometimes that does bring our adrenaline and attention and focus up. So playing beat the clock can be really powerful. But tuning into what kind of stimulation and sensory environment you like is an amazing thing to do. Also, I work with a lot of clients with ADHD and executive function challenge, diagnosed or not. I want to just totally take diagnosis out of this, because It might be that you have trouble bringing your attention to do something at a certain time. Well, we can start to explore what's that about. Is there a resistance to it? Was there a trauma related? I'm not a therapist. I don't go into that side, but I'm like, get some therapy on that and let's meet again and figure out how to get past some of these things. To figure out how do you bring your attention to your intentions, right? That's one of the big challenges. And so looking at, gosh, are you someone who likes to just let's dance and improv? I can tell you are because you're like, we're gonna have a conversation. We'll see where it goes. And I'm like, I am here for that. Live TV has been one of my greatest fun things to do. So put me in that place. Other people will be like, you're gonna what? No, I want to have my talking points and I want to know exactly, right? So knowing how you work best and finding a way to communicate it to your team members, to your leader, those are some of the things that we explore in sort of articulating what your happy space is.
Wow, that's so fun. I'm glad you picked up on the fact that I like to dance, right? I think that's really good. So with that, one of our commenters here, Jay Starrett, says that for focus for him, he likes the Pomodoro technique or the
Mhm.
Pomodoro method. Are you using that? Because I use that in sales. How are you using that, Claire?
I actually don't use it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but I believe in it wholeheartedly, especially if you like that kind of time frame, 20 minutes plus a 5-minute break essentially. You set a timer and you play beat that clock and you can knock out some things. Absolutely. I tend to get in flow on something, and I'm more of the circadian rhythm 90-minute girl. So I do not want to bust my flow with a hello, pull out of it message. I like to allow for being in flow for that greater length of time. And so I invite clients to respect circadian rhythm in that 90-minute and set yourself a 90-minute period of intense focus in the day. Maybe break it into 3 20-minute, 5-minute break sections, but definitely find ways that help bring you into focus. And that is a marvelous, marvelous tool.
Yeah, I use Pomodoro primarily for stuff that I don't really want to do.
Mm,
So I set a timer, and basically it's like, if you can focus for 20 minutes, because I'm a
yeah.
squirrel to your point, right? Like whoop, 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 whoop. I got Slack
Hmm.
going, right? Everything cooking here.
Oh,
If I can lock in for 20 minutes,
yeah.
then I can reward myself. I'll go get a snack, I'll play with the
Yeah.
dogs, I'll go for a walk for 5 minutes and then come
Yes.
back. But I typically use it, I don't want to say punishment, but as a challenge to myself,
Yeah.
because focus is a big challenge of mine.
Yeah.
I am often not focused, but on the other side, I can lock in for hours and write and create and do things.
Yeah.
But my focus does wane.
Yeah.
I'm not fully focused or maybe fully flow for too long, but I get a lot of stuff done fast. And then, I get a first draft done of a lot of things, and then I'm able to move forward. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So you've tuned in and you've sensed that, this tool is useful when it's something you're not looking forward to doing. Amazing self awareness, amazing choice of a way to bring you forward in that. Another idea around that is just plan to do something for 5 minutes. You can do anything for 5 minutes. And a lot of times people will be like, oh, I got into that. I mean, I used to be like that with running the first 5 minutes. Ugh. Right. But if I could get past the 5 minutes, then I'm like, oh, it's actually not so bad. So that's another way to get at something you don't want to do.
There we go. That's good. Yeah, I like that. I like being able to do that and not have to stress so much about being perfect, but just getting started,
Yeah.
allowing that to happen. And sometimes it does turn out to be fun, which is a interesting F word for things that we don't like to do, right?
Yeah. Who knew, right? Something that you were dreading. And I mean, the science will show that the things we don't think we're going to like, we estimate they'll take longer to do than the things we think we'll enjoy. So we're often making a mountain out of a molehill, essentially, thinking it's going to be much worse. I have, to that end, timed how long it takes to fold certain garments in laundry, right? So it's like you can sit there and look at it and feel the angst of, I don't want to. I don't want to fold it and I don't want to put it away. There's more angst about putting things away actually than the folding, I found. I don't know if you know, I brought a product to market, which I'm cross fingers may come back. And it's a tool for folding clothes so that they stay folded. It's like fold right, they stay neat. The brand was Pleo, which was we were trying to make a European sounding name, vibing off plier, which is to fold in French. So we came up with Pleo with two eyes and had it all over North America, had it on QSN or HSN, QVC, all the shopping television, all that stuff. And it was interesting doing the research for that. On Twitter, I would see so many people posting pictures of them sleeping with laundry on their bed, the pets in the laundry baskets. And it was really just pinpointing this reluctance to do something. So I thought, you know what? Let's time it. Let's take the mystery out of this and figure out just how much time it takes to fold. And it's far less than you might think.
Wow, that's interesting for so many reasons. I mean, first, a perfect way to fold it stays folded.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. And then the fact that you actually timed it,
Yeah.
like you timed it. So what's the like what came out of that that maybe surprised you or maybe confirmed your biases about folding?
Well, just that it was taking less time than I thought. When you know you had X number of garments, okay, it was my underwear I was folding. I was folding my little thong underwear and it's like, who folds thongs? I fold thongs. There was a Beverly Hills organizer, I think, that had in the early days of video, I don't know, 100,000 views back when 100,000 views was something of how to fold a thong. And I had been taught by my cousins, my dad's cousin in Australia. I saw her house. She folded her grown adult children's underwear for them. I went, that is so great. It makes this little package, and then you can just line them up. It's a thing of beauty. And I was enamored with that. And I thought, okay, let me just see how long it takes. And it was 2 minutes. It took me to fold like 2 weeks worth of underwear. It was nothing. But so when it was that little time, you're thinking, how can I talk myself out of the 2 minutes that it's going to take? Yeah,
Wow.
I did the same thing.
Wow.
My kids, you can imagine growing up as children of mine with this kind of thinking, right? There was one, it was a March break and they didn't want to go to a camp. They were like, no, we're not interested in anything. And I said, huh, okay, well, we're going to use this time wisely. We're going to have Toronto, where I live, Toronto Chore Camp. For short, we'll call it Torture Camp. so so that week I basically took the kids on a learning and gamified the experience of learning. How do you do the dishes? Right. So we had one kid doing the dishes, the other one was timing them to see how long it took to do the dishes. This element of beat the clock and learning about what we're doing is powerful. Like with grown-ups now in a new job, just to bring this, fast forward out of the child world and out of laundry. If there's a new task that you're doing and you're learning, time it the first time. See how long it took. You'll be so impressed by how much you've improved the second time. By the third time, you're probably giving yourself some ops guidance on how to do it smoothly going forward. And you can build confidence in really managing your time better because you know how long things are going to take.
Wow. That's that's so interesting and so fun. Plus, not only do you know how long it's gonna take, but you can then, for those of us that are achievers, we can see how much better we get every
Yeah,
time. And hooray!
yeah.
Yes,
Little
I'm 3% better.
little hits, right? Little, yeah. If you want it, if
Yeah.
you want to, or you could just take joy in those little folded packages and be like, doesn't that look good? I mean, I do. I like you can just I like things kind of nice. So I take pride and joy in a closet that's organized by color. You can see the people with the colored bookshelves. Yep, that's me. Right. So I'm very visually driven. Other people be like, oh my God, this woman is driving me nuts right now. Why? This is not even important at all to me. But maybe food is your thing and you really care about composing with spices, then put some attention and thought into arranging things so that you move with flow and it's going to look different for everybody. There are people, I did a questionnaire when I was organizing. One of the questions on the intake form was, do you like to pick and pluck from a drawer or a shelf, or do you like to rummage? There are people who like to rummage. They want to feel everything. They want to go on an adventure in their doors every day, right? And whereas I'm like, no, I want to see it. I want to take it. I want to be on with my day. So just knowing your nature, there's no wrong. There's designing for your well-being, and then performance flows.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
I am such a weirdo, I guess, because I like to do all of those things. Like I have certain like most of my shirts are
Hmm.
hanging because they're polo shirts,
Yep.
right? My shorts are typically in a drawer, not even folded, just shoved in
Yep.
as fast as I can, but I'm always making sure I've got a shirt that goes with my shorts, never the same
Yeah.
color, always a complementary color. Typically white glasses, not always white
I know. I
glasses,
love
but
those.
typically, right? Love yours too, right? And then, and then from there, it's like, well, whatever happens, kind of happens.
Yeah.
But I do, if I'm going to wear a t-shirt to work out
Yeah.
in, I'm going to rummage. I'm going to look for something because I want to see, because I don't have a lot of solid colored t-shirts. Usually they have a logo
Right.
or a message or
Right.
something.
Right.
And so I pick that on purpose. It's interesting.
It's fun, right? So there's maybe
Yeah.
some joy in the adventure of it, right? So some people like to go to the consignment store because there's such variety and stimulation and finding something, right? Other people are like, no. I know what I want. I want to know exactly where to get it. I'm going to order it. Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, different cats, right? They've decided to
Yep.
simplify their wardrobe. They don't want to even be thinking about that. They want to think about other things. So there's no right or wrong. There's where do you delight in thinking? Where's your self-expression? Where do you want to bring your attention? And how do you invite that to happen? That's the happy space. And it looks wildly different. Absolutely wildly different.
Yeah, so interesting. Such a cool conversation. So, one of the things I looked at your website. You say, you believe that everyone deserves a chance to make their richest contributions.
Yes.
But unfortunately, modern work culture can often invite marginalized groups to burn out or opt out, neither of which option feels just.
Yes.
So, talk to me about that because that's so interesting,
Yeah.
right? Burning out or talk to me about that.
Yeah. And I mean, I have lived experience with this. And even my father, same thing. Stories for both of us, recognizing that something in the environment and the construct of work was not healthy for us, or in my dad's case, the patients. And both of us spoke up about it and said, this ought to change because we'll have better outcomes, not only for us as individuals, but for those who we serve. He was fired. I negotiated my way out of my last corporate job because I was being told to be in the office 100% of the time. And at that time, being a highly sensitive person, I didn't know about highly sensitive temperaments at the time. So I didn't have language for it. I just knew that I was exhausted by the time I got to the office. I knew that 90% of my job was over the telephone. And I worked for a telecom company selling the equipment to enable you to work from home. One of my first jobs was actually at Nortel back in the day doing the business case for video conferencing. Like it's going to save so much money, time, effort, and energy that it's right. It makes business sense to do this. So it's really ironic that I was invited out essentially because I was being mandated to be in the office for a job that was 90% on the telephone. I'm like, confounding to my brain. Different leadership style, different leadership style. And we'll hear this argument being made today in this tension around remote work or not. We'll hear about what I was told later was, oh, we wanted your mentorship in the office. Like, okay, then mentorship is important. How about we talk about that sometime when I'm actually in the office? And how about we have a little bit of structure around that so there's something to bounce off and it actually means something? It's not a scapegoat, nice to have that's supposed to, just like organizing, happen without any thought or intention. We need to be intentional about all of this stuff and create some structure and invitations to engage in that. Then you can have your remote work and your mentoring. And you can invite people to come together. You can hashtag acknowledge the ask. Because if we're going to ask certain people who are, for example, highly sensitive and the open concept office is exhausting, the subway ride is exhausting, the dropping the kids off 20 minutes in the other way and traveling for an hour, too much? Exhausted by 9 o'clock or 9:30 in the morning, especially when you add a snowstorm on the top of that or whatever it is, right? if we can start to say, whew, what do you need to succeed? And that's where this happy space productivity profile that I'm building right now connects into happy space work design, right? So this is now a leader thinking, oh gosh, I've done the profile, so I know I need to respect my preferences. Cool. Oh, in that learning, I realized that Phil likes to rummage. I like to pick and pluck. Just using the closet example, everybody has a different preference. How do I design us coming together to meet our team objectives in a way that's not sabotaging somebody's well-being, not asking too much of someone in a wheelchair to make that effort to get to work, not asking someone who is with an invisible illness and maybe has an inability to walk that day or to use their hands that day. These are all things that I've experienced, by the way. So it's from lived experience, I am stepping really into this intersection of productivity and inclusivity, and a real invitation for leaders to say, I know we're tired of, gosh, we're tired of Me Too. We're tired of Black Lives Matter. We're tired of LGBTQ rights. We don't get to be tired of this. We need to figure out how to embed this inclusive way of thinking. And I'm saying expand it. So we never mind the labels. We look past the labels and we look to, gosh, what does Phil really need to really be giving his best work? We want the best from everybody. And I think what we've done for so long is we've been majority wins. Let's meet in the middle. Let's compromise the extremes. We're going to throw you out. And through doing so, we are squandering talent. And I'm like, I'm not having it anymore. I don't think we need to, but in a place of not judging, but an invitation to discover self and be from a compassionate leader point of view, have, achieving this moral imperative, which is inclusive, but also the business imperative, which is proven that the more diverse we are, the more perspectives we have, the richer business outcomes we have. It's like, how can we disentangle this? They work together. And my big mission is to be fostering that conversation that's just not happening.
Wow. Well, that definitely sounds like a happy space, a happy place for all of us to be, one at a time,
Yeah.
instead of all at once in a fishbowl, right?
Yeah, it's enabling people to find that and then come together with that in mind. So it means options in the office. It means places for rest and recovery so that a pregnant, third trimester pregnant woman does not have to crawl under her cubicle to sleep. That's also me. So there are examples of where we look at humans not as human animals. This is where my biology degree makes sense. It's like, oh, so it's understanding humanity and really respecting it and saying, no, 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 this Frederick Taylor inspired productivity goal suck just as much out of a human as I can. That's not where we are. It's honor humanity, respect that we're animals and we have different wiring, different sensibilities, different preferences. Let's design and co-create from there. Guess what? Takes more patience, it's more complex, and it's nuanced. And in a hustle culture, we don't make a lot of time for that. So it's a big ask. It's a big invitation to say, catch a beat, and let's really look at this. And guess what? Let's co-create this as a team so that we can commit to knowing each other's. I put a model together for leaders. I came out of work looking into invisible disability. And if you've got someone with a challenge and you don't know, you don't want to probe into privacy, you want to respect the boundaries. A safe question to ask is, what do you need to succeed? What do you need to succeed, and invite that conversation. Then I took ask and I said, I want to break that down. I want you to anticipate what someone might need. Look, I know Phil wants to wear shirts that go together in complementary colors and he needs his shorts. So if shorts are running low in laundry, Phil's going to need time to get his supply stocked, right? What do I anticipate because of what I know? What solutions are available? Gosh, there's mental health supports, there's coaching. Executive coaches are the biggest gift an organization can give their executive team, to have a safe sounding board to even talk about some of these things. So what can you suggest that you know about? And K is commit to better knowing your employees all the time. You're not done. Okay, I've got the happy space productivity profile. Wonderful. I know everything. No. you're going to continue to learn and build caring relationships with your team and thereby invite everyone's best performance.
Wow. That is powerful. I hope everybody takes heed of that and creates that for others and uses that ask framework. That's so powerful. Starting with asking, what do you need to succeed? I really love that, Claire. There's a ton more we could talk about, and
Mhm.
we will do this again. But folks, if you want to get more from Clare Kumar, check out the Happy Space podcast. Check out clarekumar.com. Claire, if we want to get started ourselves on creating our own happy
Mhm.
place, our own happy space, how do we do that?
It's that big invitation to tune in. If you want to create a happy space where you can perform at your best, tune in to what lights you up. Tune in to those moments where you think best. Notice what time of day it is, what conditions are happening around you. Try and recreate that and set up for your well being. If you design for well being, your performance will flow.
Beautiful. Great place to end up. Claire, thank you. Thank you, listeners, watchers, people there, David, Jay, everyone. Thank you so much. And I invite you to get to know Claire more. Again, go to Claire Kumar.